Hello everyone, let's jump straight into the fast-paced world of Agile and how it completely flips the script on how we manage risk. In a professional sense, adaptive or Agile environments handle risk through high levels of transparency, frequent iterations, and constant feedback loops to ensure that uncertainty is managed in small, manageable chunks. Now, to put that in very simple English, Agile risk management is like driving a car at night with your high beams on. You aren't trying to map out every pothole for the next 100 miles before you leave the garage. Instead, you are focused on the road right in front of you, reacting quickly to whatever the headlights reveal. You have probably seen this at the office, where instead of a giant 6-month plan, the team works in 2-week sprints. I once worked with a team that was terrified of a major software integration. Instead of writing a 50-page risk report, we just decided to try the integration in the very first week. We found the pothole immediately, fixed it, and moved on. It's about being brave enough to fail fast so you can succeed sooner. So, now that we've mastered the idea that Agile risk is about speed and frequent check-ins, you might be wondering who actually carries the binoculars in this fast-moving car. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is seeing how risk becomes everyone's job. In an Agile environment, risk management is a collaborative responsibility, rather than being assigned to a single risk manager in a silo. This means the entire team, the Scrum Master and the Product Owner, are all active participants in identifying and responding to threats. In everyday language, this is the all hands on deck model. We don't wait for a specialist to tell us there's a problem. If a developer sees a risk during their morning coffee, they bring it up immediately. Stay with me here because this is a big culture shift. Think of it like a group of friends go-karting. Everyone is looking at the track, and if one person sees oil on the road, they shout it out to the whole group so nobody crashes. I remember a project where a junior tester saved us thousands of dollars because he felt comfortable calling out a risk during a quick hallway chat. That's the beauty of Agile. It turns everyone into a risk spotter. So now that we've mastered the concept that risk is a team sport in Agile, you might be wondering exactly when and where these conversations happen without slowing the team down. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is the daily stand-up and the power of transparency. Now watch how this connects to the daily rhythm of the team. In Agile, we use frequent ceremonies like the daily stand-up and sprint reviews to ensure that impediments and risks are identified and addressed in real time. To break this down together, this is the early warning system. Every single morning, for just 15 minutes, the team stands together and asks, "What is standing in my way?" These roadblocks are often risks that have just turned into issues or threats that are just starting to appear. You might have seen this at work where a quick huddle solves more problems than a 2-hour formal meeting. It's about keeping the fog away by constantly talking. I once had a Scrum Master who used a risk board right next to the task board. If someone had a worry, they'd stick a post-it note on it immediately. No waiting, no red tape, just pure transparency. So now that we've mastered the idea of using daily chats to catch risks while they are small, you might be wondering how we handle the big technical maybes that could break the whole system. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is the risk-adjusted backlog. To stay organized in Agile, we use a product backlog. But as RMPs, we help turn it into a risk-adjusted backlog by prioritizing work items based on both their business value and the level of risk they carry. In professional terms, this means we intentionally pull high-risk tasks to the front of the line to prove the concept early. In simple English, this is the eat the frog strategy. If you have a task that is scary and uncertain, you don't save it for the end of the project. You do it first. Let's break this down together. Imagine you are building a tree house. You don't spend 3 days painting the wood if you aren't sure the tree branch can even hold the weight. You test the branch first. That's a risk-adjusted move. By doing the risky technical work in the first sprint, you buy information and reduce the overall uncertainty of the project. I always tell my students, in Agile, we don't just deliver value, we deliver risk reduction. So now that we mastered the art of eating the frog by doing the scary stuff first, you might be wondering how we visualize all this moving data for our stakeholders. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is the risk burn down chart. Don't worry, we'll take it slow here, because this is a beautiful way to show progress. While a normal chart shows how much work is done, a risk burndown chart shows how the total risk score of the project is decreasing over time. Formally, this is a tool used to track the effectiveness of risk responses and the reduction of overall project uncertainty iteration by iteration. In everyday language, this is the stress meter. Every time the team completes a risky task or solves a big maybe, the line on the chart goes down. Think of it like a countdown clock. At the start of the project, the clock is at 100. As you prove the technology and finish the difficult parts, that clock drops to 80, then 50, then 10. It's a powerful way to show your boss that the project is getting safer every single day. I remember showing this to a very nervous sponsor, and as he watched the risk line drop every 2 weeks, he finally stopped calling me every hour. It builds massive trust. So, now that we have mastered how to track our stress levels on a chart, you might be wondering what happens when we find a risk that is just too big for a 2-week sprint. Well, that brings us right into our final step, which is the risk spike. To wrap this all together, we have to talk about a very special agile move called a spike. A risk spike is a short, time-boxed effort specifically dedicated to research or prototyping to reduce a specific technical or functional uncertainty. In very simple terms, this is a science project. You tell the team, forget about building new features for the next 2 days. Just focus on figuring out if this new database will actually work with our system. You are spending time to buy knowledge. Think of it like a scout in a movie who goes ahead of the army to see if the bridge is still standing. The scout isn't there to fight, they are there to find out the truth. Once the scout comes back with the answer, the whole army can move forward safely. That is exactly what a spike does for your project. And that, my friends, is how we stay light on our feet and keep our projects moving fast without falling off a cliff. So now that we have mastered the full journey of agile risk, from daily hurdles to science project spikes, you are ready to see if you can handle the speed of an adaptive project. And that leads us right into our practice quiz. We are going to discuss risk in hybrid in details in next chapter.